The cab is all disconnected. We got it hooked up. We're gonna take it off, set it on over here on the floor now so we can work on the drivetrain, see what we're gonna do with that. So I lost a lot of footage here, so I apologize for not getting that, but you can see where we're at this point. I tried to disconnect all the wiring that was hooked to the cab off the engine and chassis and left it hooked up. Same thing with whatever was hooked to the engine or chassis. We disconnected it and left it in place as much as we could. So got the interior all cleaned out except this box back here, and some of the bolts are just rusted up so bad I'm gonna have to cut those, I guess, but this is amazingly good shape. We've got some little bit of rust here, but it's good and solid, so I'm not gonna have to do anything to repair that. For a 1989 vehicle, it is in amazing good condition. I'm really surprised. This is just dirt, that's not rust, so. That's where we're at this point. So now we'll get this cab off and see what we're gonna do with the drivetrain. I wanted to see if the fuel pump was working, because the key switch is bad. It's not hooked up right now. I couldn't actually tell if it was working, so I hooked up to a battery and it is humming. So I don't know if that's actually working or if it's just making noise, but so something we're gonna have to deal with. So that's where we're at this point. Okay, we got our cab off and sitting on the ground over there. Next thing we're gonna do is pull this fuel tank, get it out of the way, because it's definitely gonna be in a different place when we get done. It's way too big. I don't know what the capacity is, but we're gonna go with something around, I don't know, 15 to 20 gallons when we get done. Once we get that out of the way, then we can start dealing with these cross members. Maybe I ought to back up a little and tell you kind of what we're gonna shoot for. We're gonna pull the engine, transmission, turn them around and mount it in the back. Okay, which poses a whole bunch of different problems when we do that. You can see from the center of the front suspension here, the engine hangs over the front here, I don't know, 14 inches or so, over the front of the center of the axle. We flip it around, and we're going to call this a mid-mount, and I don't know what the actual definition is, but from the center of this rear axle, the front of the engine is going to be back here about 18 inches. So that means we got to lose this cross brace, lose this cross brace. I think this brace that holds the torsion bars will probably stay in the same position, although we're going to lower it down. Probably mount it to the bottom of the frame, because once we flip this around, that piece right there will be right underneath the transfer case. So that's one thing we're going to have to deal with. Of course, this motor mount will be up in here somewhere, that transmission mount. Some other things we got to deal with. This drive line, of course, comes out on the left side of the vehicle into the front differential, and we'll be driving it from the center of our output shaft on the transfer case. So it's basically going to be setting, it'll be back, the output will be approximately in this area somewhere. So you see the offset we're going to have for this drive line is going to be clear over there. And that's a lot. So we can mitigate that a little bit by offsetting the rear transmission mount a little bit, but don't want to go too far. That throws everything else off, but we could move it a little bit and help with this. So that's one thing we got to deal with, among about 30 others. Other problems, which I'm not sure yet, but because we're going to have the same problem on the back with the rear drive line coming up the center, now we're going to drive it off the output, which would normally be for the front drive line. So it's going to be offset, but it'll be offset to the other side. So a few things there we got to deal with. Not even sure we can reuse this mount. It looks like we've got plenty of room up here to remount it just like it is here. Only mount it up here in the frame. Of course, once we remove these, then we're going to have to re-stiffen the frame somewhere, probably by going underneath the transmission, or transmission here and the engine up there. But until we get the engine somewhat placed in there, we're not sure how that's going to end up. Now, this rear axle actually have another one, and it's a 4-link, stock 4-link with springs, coil springs instead of these leaf springs. And I like the idea of a 4-link, number one. And the coil springs are going to be easier to work with than these leaf springs in this application. But then we can actually cut this frame off somewhere up in here. We can get rid of all this stuff back here. That'll all go away. So, which again brings back frame bracing issues and stuff like that. So, and the plan is to mount the radiator back here and put an electric push fan on it. So you're actually pushing all the heat out of the radiator right out the back of the vehicle, which I like a lot. That's a design issue that I don't know. If you think about it, you're taking all this heat out of this engine, running up through a radiator that's trying to cool it off, and where's that heat going? Right back under the hood, right back into your engine. And I suppose there's some engineering reason to maintain that design, but sure seemed dumb to me, so we're going to fix that one, at least with this issue vehicle. So anyway, that's kind of where we're headed, and I'll try and keep updated here with things as we go. I'm just videoing this off my phone, so I don't have a whole lot of memory. Once I fill up, I have to download it, so I got enough memory for the next video. So I don't have the equipment to just set it up and let you watch what I'm doing. But I'll try and keep you updated here. We got our cross braces all cut out, tank's gone. I don't know if we can repurpose this cross brace. Put it up here. This is about where the front mount's gonna fit. I don't know if we can use it. We're gonna flip that around, get some measurements and see what we gotta do for front mounts. But maybe we can reuse that and just put our mounts in there for the front engine mounts. Maybe we'll have to start from scratch and build new ones, I don't know. But anyway, that's all out of the way. I think I tried to get this out and I can't get these bolts out. They're in there. I couldn't screw them out with the impact and I couldn't beat them out with a hammer. So what we're going to do, we're just going to cut these off. We're not going to reuse these anywhere. And I'm out of oxygen, so I got to wait till tomorrow and get some so I can get rid of them. So anyway, there's a short update. So you know where we're at here.